authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation. We are back. We are back. We are back. We are live. We are back. Tea Talking Live with Tanisha Talks Teas. We got a slew of hot topics. We just got done off up a Diddy Live. So if you missed it, go back and catch the replay. Alrighty, y'all. What's up, tea sippers? Let me get in my chat and say hi, sippers. Thank you guys so much for sipping tea with Tanisha. We really want to start off by paying some homage to all of the sites that we go live on. Hi, YouTube. We have been welcomed back over on YouTube. It's been a grand welcoming back. We have reached over 1,000 subscribers. From leaving off about 5 years ago was the last time. Oh, Lord, y'all, I hope my goddamn private blind doesn't fall over on my balcony again. All my plants just toppled over. Okay, anywho, yeah, we left off on YouTube about 5 years ago, came strong about a month and a half ago, and we're already at over subscribers. We're gaining momentum on our watch time, so it will be doing this for a coin. Ching ching. So we want to give ourselves a pat on the back and a pour up to us. We are the sippers over here with Tanisha Talks Teas, and we are live also on Facebook. We have gained momentum. We started back out on Facebook first, going live again, just getting some momentum over there. We got some followers. We are up to almost 16,000 followers over on Facebook, and that is also so amazing. I really want to, let everybody know that if you really want like all my real raw material, you're going to get it on Facebook. That's where I give the majority of like all my updates for everything going on. I have a Tea Talk channel over there, Tanisha Talks Teas TV, where you can get all the sneak peeks of everything that's going on, so the going ons of the sipping the tea. So we want to give ourselves a round of applause for gaining 16,000 followers over on Facebook in just a matter of like 8 months. We are monetized over on Facebook and getting our residuals. So that does feel great. Feels great. And we are also live on Twitch. Hi, Twitchers. We have now made the Twitchers some sippers. We are over 1,700 followers on Twitch in just about 2 or 3 months. We've been on Twitch now, and we are really, really thankful for our following over on Twitch, gaining some momentum. We are monetized on Twitch as well, so we really want to thank everybody for supporting our Twitch channel, Tanisha Talks Teas TV. We got to take a little time to celebrate ourselves every once in a while, especially when we do good things. We are now also a welcome channel over on Kick. Okay, Kick is a fairly new app, but it is like doing its damn thing. So we're over on Kick, and we were just offered the subscription monetization perks. So thank you guys so much for loving us over on Kick. So I hope you guys also like the aesthetics that I've made for the Tanisha Talks Teas TV channel. Okay, it's vibrant, it's pink, it's purple, it's like, pop art and all that great stuff. And this little lady in the center bubble, that's my assistant. So whenever I don't feel like coming on live and letting you guys see my beautiful face, I use my assistant as my picture. So yes, that's my lovely assistant in my office. They're working hard as always. So we're going to get right into the content. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Up first, y'all, we got Rkelly. Rkelly has been in the news for an alleged drugging of him in the pokey. So let's take some time and sip some tea. Remember, when you come into the room, to lift your teacups out to be filled with some tea. Also, like and subscribe.
Take a look at this post on X, courtesy of TMZ, in which they say that Rkelly was reportedly rushed to the hospital from an overdose of medications in prison. TMZ also releasing an article. I do want to read you some of the reports that they have already issued here, as Rkelly, TMZ says, is doubling down on his claim that his life is in grave danger in prison, now alleging the Bureau of Prison staff at his federal center in North Carolina purposefully gave him too much medication, causing an overdose that left him hospitalized. A court filing submitted by his attorney Monday claims Rkelly was left bedridden in a hospital after a solitary confinement staff member instructed him to take additional medication the night of June 12th. The next morning, Rkelly allegedly awakened feeling faint and dizzy, and when he attempted to get up, he fell on the floor, crawled to the door of the cell, and lost consciousness. He was subsequently taken to Duke University Hospital, and during the ride there, he claims he heard a prison officer begrudge, quote, "This is going to open a whole can of worms." During his 2-day stay at the hospital, Kelly says he learned he was given an amount of his prescribed medication that could have ended his life. Furthermore, Kelly claims in his Monday filing that prison staff took him off necessary blood thinner medication and is now refusing to allow him a doctor-recommended surgery to clear blood clots in his legs and lungs that are putting his life in danger. Instead, they have him locked up in solitary confinement, where Kelly has expressed to his lawyer he is convinced he will be killed or left to die. Therefore, the disgraced music mogul is asking for temporary release to home confinement for the third time, arguing his life depends on it. TMZ goes on to say that an assistant United States attorney swiftly filed a response to Kelly's request, alleging he continuously paints himself as the victim and adding, quote, "This is the behavior of an abuser and a master manipulator on display." The response also claims Kelly knowingly submitted an action to a court that has no jurisdiction over his case, accusing him of instead choosing to write to let his court know that he is cold in prison, as the medical care that he is receiving, in order to turn his situation to a grocery store checkout aisle tabloid. Kelly's latest filing comes just a week after his legal team sought his immediate release due to an alleged foiled murder-for-hire plot against him. His team submitted a sworn statement from another inmate who claimed authorities offered him release from prison if he murdered the singer. But just wanted to bring you that breaking news courtesy again of TMZ, that Rkelly reportedly rushed to the hospital from an overdose of medications in prison. So we'll be sure to follow that story for you here on Live Now from Fox.
Okay, y'all know that Rkelly was sentenced to 30 plus more years. Okay. When was Rkelly sentenced to prison, y'all? Let's go ahead and do a run back down memory lane. Rkelly convicted in what year? Rkelly was convicted in 2021 by a federal jury in Brooklyn on racketeering and the Mann Act violations. What they are trying to get Diddy on, right? So including actual exploitation of children and forced labor. In a separate trial in Chicago, he was also convicted in 2022 on charges of producing images of child sexual abuse and enticing girls for X. Lord have mercy, R. Kelly. He was sentenced to 30 years in the pokey, okay? So, yes, girl. And then R. Kelly, he asked the judge, okay, could he be released? And I believe the judge denied him of the request for being released from prison. Let's look that up and see what they got. If they got some tea on that, y'all. Let me see. So it looks like I have found some tea on that. Give it a second to upload to the screen while we are doing that. R. Kelly's ex-wife is living her best life. She is moonwalking backwards across everybody's stage and dance concert hall. Andrea Kelly, former wife of Ara Kelly, okay, with no, none of that going on. She's not really giving a fuck about whatever's going on with R. Kelly. The Breakfast Club chimed in about him being wanting to.
He says he's alleging that prison officials teamed up with a man who is a gang leader who has a terminal illness and a plot to kill him. So he is currently in North Carolina serving his 30-year sentence for sex crimes.
In North Carolina?
Yes, he's in North Carolina right now, serving his 30-year sentence for sex crimes. And according to documents that R. Kelly's...
R. Kelly, I believe, also went down on a RICO charge, a federal charge. So the feds move you around. The feds don't just keep you necessarily in one prison. They, for whatever reasons, they move you from facility to facility. And that's just how they do you, okay? You never know. You might wake up in Mexico, Canada, fucking Florida, Texas, New York, and you're from fucking Idaho, some goddamn where, but you done got convicted in the federal courts, and the federal courts will move you around the country as they fit need be for your ass.
Legal team just filed. They're alleging that there is a man, last name Stein, who is a gang leader, a big gang leader, and that he has provided a sworn statement to them that prison officials offered him his freedom to spend his last days free if he would allegedly kill R. Kelly. Now, the way that this man says that this was supposed to go down is that he was supposed to kill R. Kelly, allegedly, and then he would get charged for it, and then he alleges that prison officials were going to fumble the evidence and ultimately bury the case. They would then allegedly transfer him to another location where he would be allowed to escape and stay free. Now, you might wonder...
That sounds crazy.
It does. It does sound crazy.
That sounds like a Trapped in the Closet series. Okay, R. Kelly wrote that. Right.
Well, you're probably wondering, well, if this is being alleged of the prison officials, why would they want to do all this?
Yeah, why would they want to kill R. Kelly?
So R. Kelly's team is saying that all this is happening because they've been investigating whether R. Kelly's rights were violated throughout the process of his trials, and that they're alleging they recovered some information that they were, and that this information was going to come out. So this is a response allegedly to that. And the information basically, Rkelly, Clary, who was a big witness for R. Kelly's sentencing, and a woman named LaShonda, who was a big witness in the Chicago case. These two witnesses, according to these documents, and according to R. Kelly's legal team, were flipped on R. Kelly based on this in-house informant. This in-house informant by the government allegedly went to Adriel Clary, went to LaShonda, showed Adriel Clary some communications that R. Kelly, emails, phone calls with another woman outside of Adriel, because y'all know she was dating R. Kelly. Yeah. And they allege that because of the communications that were shown, he then influenced her to be the government's key witness, and then she was put together with this informant, with the woman LaShonda, who then did the same, so that the rights were violated. They alleged that the government act like they didn't have anything to do with it, nor did they know what happened, although they alleged that R. Kelly's team was told his communications were stolen during the trial. No one knew any details, and now that they know the details, this whole plot has come out. And the guy, his name is Michael Glenn Stein, he says he will take a lie detector test, and he will testify if he has to.
I don't want to be disrespectful. I really don't care.
It just sounds like a lot of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I've tried to get the attorneys on the phone. That's who I was speaking with when I came in here. And I literally said to them, these are some really big claims. It seems like a movie. I would love to speak to someone. And I haven't gotten a call back. But this is what they've alleged in these documents.
And which case is that? Because didn't he have 2 cases that are running concurrent? So which case is that?
So it's
one
both.
was 30, one was 20.
He's saying it's both cases.
Both. But he's in North Carolina serving the 30, but both. Because Azriel was a huge witness in one, and LaShonda was a huge witness in Chicago.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah, and we real quick, Diddy, because there's a lot that has been happening. I know I haven't actually been in court, but we've been talking about.
That's
it
what I'm
here.
interested in. Yeah.
So which part do you want to start with first?
So Jane Doe has been on. I guess she's been talking for the last 4 days. She's been on trial for 4 days.
That's not unnormal though.
He's currently paying somebody's rent.
I don't even think Cassie.
So just want to add more context, more color to it. But it has come out that she talks about, not wanting to do freak-offs allegedly.
Okay, well, they're still, of course, stuck on Diddy. A lot of people are going to be writing Diddy probably for the next couple of years or decades. Diddy is the, probably hottest thing going in this century as far as his case. So, but we are still taking from Rkelly. So let's get into it.
Long before the walls closed in on P. Diddy, another pop music megastar was charged with racketeering and sex trafficking, among other things. And he was convicted 2 times. Rkelly has spent the last 3 years, almost to the day, in a medium security federal prison in Butner, North Carolina. His 2022 trial in Brooklyn ended with a sentence of 30 years. His 2023 trial in Chicago got him 20 years as well. And they're supposed to run mostly at the same time. But now Rkelly wants out. And he says his life depends on it. He says that every minute he spends locked up at Butner, he is in danger. And why? The way his lawyers tell it, prison officials want Rkelly dead. You heard me. The government, they say, has put a target on the singer in prison. And what's more, Kelly's lawyers say the Bureau of Prisons.
Wow. So Rkelly believes, or is, wanting everyone else to believe, that his life is in danger. I'm pretty sure Rkelly, coming from the lifestyle that he used to live as the mega pop rock star, get out of there. Get out of there. Once out of prison, I'm sure. Okay, Rkelly used to live a very grand life of stature, and I'm sure that he wants out of prison. Okay, he, is telling us that he is spending 24 hours in lockdown, in a federal prison. So I can imagine, I don't want to, but I've watched Locked Up Raw, what that would look like for him. Okay, very grueling, strenuous, and hard.
Inspired with one of his fellow inmates, a member of the Aryan Brotherhood, to murder him. I'm joined now by Beau Brindley, attorney for Rkelly. Mr. Brindley, I'm so glad to have you on the show. Thanks so much for being a guest. I mean, what I just read, what I just said, it just all sounds very fantastical. Do you have proof?
Well, the answer is we do have proof, and we appreciate the opportunity to be able to come on and talk about it. In terms of proof, the most powerful piece of proof I can provide is the sworn statement of the man who says that he was solicited to kill Rkelly. Michael Glenn Stein has provided us with a full declaration signed, and he's given his willingness to sit down for a polygraph examination administered by either side to testify in court. He has given us the details of who solicited him and when. And I think that's the key here. These are not Rkelly's allegations. These are the allegations being made by Michael Glenn Stein, who's the person who says that he was solicited to kill Robert and sent to Butner to do it from another facility. And we took significant time. Oh, I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm trying to put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together as you're answering. And I'm just confused if this inmate allegedly said that the Bureau of Prisons sought him out to murder a fellow inmate. Why?
Well, that's an excellent question, and the answer to that is also pretty clear. Mr. Stein, in his declaration, has set forth the reason that was given. The reason is that Mr. Kelly was about to expose some facts that would be extremely inflammatory and damaging to the Bureau of Prisons and the Department of Justice. And because of that, the Bureau of Prisons instructed Michael Glenn Stein to go to Butner and execute R. Kelly. And Mr. Stein made clear and gave us extraordinary detail when we spoke to Mr. Stein. We didn't use this until we actually went down and met with Mr. Stein for hours. And he told us in extraordinary detail that this is not the first instance, that this happens all the time, that the Aryan Brotherhood has been directed to commit murders and beatings at the behest of prison officials for years. People have been killed who pose problems for officers, for lawsuits, and it happens. According to Mr. Stein, not only will he tell you that it happens, he will explain, when given the opportunity in great detail, all of these murders in which he has participated, which he has directed other Aryan Brotherhood people to do. This being the most recent.
Can I ask you to just, yeah, like murder's a big deal, right? I think we can all agree on that. And putting a target on someone's head, kind of a last resort. What kind of information are we talking about that allegedly R. Kelly is in possession of that would be unflattering to the government at a level that would, suggest that a hit was put on his head?
Well, let me say it this way. It's not allegedly having evidence. We do have evidence, and one piece of evidence we've already presented in the form of a signed declaration from Keyshawn Mogadamudi, Robert's former cellmate. And what he describes is having been solicited by prosecutors who are offering him a reduced sentence in exchange for stealing Mr. Kelly's privileged attorney-client correspondence, funneling it through an identified Bureau of Prisons officer, a corrupt officer, and then that was provided to the U.S. Attorney's Office. This man has made a statement, and both he and Mr. Stein are making statements that are absolutely not in their own personal interest, and yet they've done it anyway. And so we do have that evidence, and what that evidence means is we're talking about prosecutors and Bureau of Prison guards, not just guards, but officials, people that are officers. We're talking about these people committing crimes. The theft of Mr. Kelly's mail was a crime, and it was a violation of his constitutional rights. On top of that, there's another prison guard against which a lawsuit is pending, Tawana Ingram, who also stole other attorney-client correspondence.
Let me jump in here. Because I've been around the block as you have as well. And if I had a dime for the number of inmates who lied under oath, on the stand, you name it, I'd be on a yacht in the Med. However, suggesting that the government thinks that this alleged behavior of a cellmate of R. Kelly's is so egregious that the only remedy is to solicit murder sounds a bit crazy, again, given it would be their word against an inmate. So you see where I'm coming from, right? That's why it sounds fantastical. And I guess the other question to add to that is that if the threat is over, meaning the man allegedly solicited to kill R. Kelly has come clean and said, I won't do it, I'm going to sing like a canary instead, where's the threat?
The threat is the other members of the Aryan Brotherhood, another one of which has been identified, who has been asked to carry out what Mike Stein has been unwilling to do. That's what you have to understand. What we're talking about here is government officials who committed crimes, and people in the Bureau of Prisons that committed crimes. Crimes that the current administration, the current Department of Justice will have no sympathy for, I guarantee. And those people have benefited in going after R. Kelly and making their names and getting their publicity and all of that. And now the truth is they did it through constitutional violations. They did it through crimes. That Tawana Ingram, the Bureau of Prisons officer that stole his correspondence, there was a search warrant, they proved it, and they said they were going to investigate the U.S. Attorney's Office. You know what happened to her? She got her full pension. She walked away, retired, and was not charged. And she did it as an officer.
Well, let me
now, if
ask
there
you
was
this.
not corruption behind that, I don't understand how that could be.
Right, an inmate doesn't have a pension. So what would possibly be the incentive for an inmate to commit a murder in prison at the behest of the government? Like, what benefit? What do they get?
It depends on the circumstances, but Mr. Stein says is oftentimes what they get is the ability to traffic narcotics freely throughout the facility. What they get is the ability not to be searched. But in this instance, what Mr. Stein has clearly said he gets is the opportunity to be free. I mean, they have said to Mr. Stein, according to him, they have said that if he is to do this, he has a terminal cancer patient, he's going to die in the near future. That's a fact. And they have said that he will be transferred and he'll get the opportunity to walk away. And Michael Glenn Stein has a history of escaping from the Bureau of Prisons. He escaped previously. That's why he spent so long at the ADX Supermax in Florence. And all of a sudden, he was moved to this relatively low security facility at Butner and put near Rkelly. That's a fact. And the other fact is, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say I'm out of time in this segment. However, I would like to keep the conversation going with you. I know you have other, options. You're suggesting that maybe even Donald Trump might consider pardoning Rkelly, though I'm not sure what's in it for Donald Trump. Could you keep me apprised on your efforts to get him, ankle bracelet release and home detention, and your efforts in seeking a federal pardon? You keep us apprised on that?
Absolutely. We're going to seek every opportunity to, one, make sure that Robert Kelly doesn't get killed, and number two, to see that he is freed based on what we believe to be and will prove to be a corrupt prosecution, the kind of which President Trump has promised to eradicate. And I believe he's the only person. Two corrupt
prosecutions?
What? What was your question?
Corrupt prosecutions? There were two separate ones. There were two separate ones.
Yes, but the evidence being provided was both of them. Okay. Absolutely. Both of them received.
Okay, keep me posted. I gotta go,
Yes,
but Bo Brindley, I really appreciate. Sorry, we have some crosstalk, but I really appreciate this. Keep me posted, and we'll follow the story. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our new.
All right, y'all. As y'all see, it's a lot going on surrounding Mr. Rkelly. I apologize. My husband's in the background doing some hammer work. It's a lot going on around to the Kelly, y'all. All I can say is Rkelly is a human being. However, he has, unfortunately in his life done some things that have placed him in the hands of the system and put him in the penal system, where we know rights are very often violated. I would never want to see, someone, killed in prison. Unfortunately, it does happen. As we know, I sipped some tea on Tory Lanez that was recently damn near murdered in a prison in California, stabbed several times. And so unfortunately it does happen. I can't say necessarily, I almost said I want to pray for Rkelly, but then I had to remember exactly why Rkelly's even in prison. Okay. He is in prison for, sexually abusing, underage children. So, we don't, pray for people like that. However, I, hope that Rkelly, seek some type of solitude before his time does come to an end. So we're going to wrap up our Kelly. That was our Tea Talk segment on his ass. Now we're going to go over to Tyler Perry's ass, y'all. Oh, there's a lot of shit going on. Tyler Perry has been sued by some white man that was on his show, The Oval. I've, watched that, like the show, The Oval. Very gripping, dramatic, keep us suspenseful show created by Tyler Perry. I am a Tyler Perry fan. However, I did not watch Straw. I'm just one of the ones that, like, I have already seen so much of the, struggle of the Black woman, the plight of our asses. And so I just wasn't, even with it being, you know, one of my favorite actresses, you know, right next to Angela Bassett. Taraji P. Henson is my second favorite. Like, she's not even my second anymore. She's right up there next to Angela. So, you know, that's just what that is. However, I could not bring myself to watch the Straw movie because I mean, if I've seen one struggle, then I know. Like, from Set It Off, if you know, if you've seen them, you know, if you lived it, you know it. So I'm just not, you know, wanting to continue to put so much struggle emotion on my spirit. So Tyler Perry's being sued, y'all, by one of his actors from the show The Oval. Let's sip some tea on that and see what that is all about. Thank you guys so much for sipping tea with Tanisha Talks Teas. Remember, when you come in, to hold your teacup up, get your teacup filled up, and to never miss, hit that notification and like and subscribe button. Girl, Perry to be sued for actual assault in a $260 million lawsuit, which is fucking crazy. Okay. How can I go back? Because I wanted to click on that. Hold on. There's so much clickbait out here, y'all. But allegedly, anyway, while I'm looking for the tea on it, there are text messages that have been exchanged between R. Kelly, Tyler Perry, and this, you know, said person. So yeah, where he was like, you know, trying to get him to give him some never mind, pay him some never mind about however, whatever have you. And so on and so forth. Like, oh, girl, I just had it. Like, where did you go? Okay. Okay. I'm like, there we go. I'm like, I just pulled it up. Okay, so let's sip this tea about Tyler Perry, y'all, and see what it is giving.
Breaking news coming into Law and Crime. Actor, director, and film titan Tyler Perry is the latest celebrity to be accused of sexual assault. We got our hands on a new lawsuit filed Friday. And Derek Dixon, who starred on one of Perry's hit shows. We want to break down this lawsuit and what it could mean for the movie mogul. We're on the case, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. So to start off, Dixon is suing Tyler Perry, the individual, as well as his production studio. That studio is called TPS Production Services, LLC. That stands for Tyler Perry Studios in Action, LLC. And he is looking for $260 million. Dixon, who portrayed a lead role in Perry's show called The Oval, is claiming 10 causes of action for the civil pro quo sex work involvement, sexual harassment, workplace gender violence, violation of the California law that protects against violence of someone's civil rights through force or coercion, sexual battery, sexual assault, negligent retention, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and retaliation. Let's get into this lawsuit. The complaint starts off by saying, quote, "This case arises from a sustained pattern of workplace sexual harassment, assault, and retaliation perpetrated by Tyler Perry, a powerful media mogul, against plaintiff Derek Dixon, a professional actor and screenwriter. Mr. Perry is an American actor, filmmaker, and playwright who has built one of the most successful careers in the film and television industry. Mr. Perry took his success and power and used his considerable influence in the entertainment industry to create a coercive, sexually exploitive dynamic with Mr. Dixon, initially promising him career advancement opportunities such as producing a pilot and casting him in his show, only to subject him to escalating harassment, assault, and professional retaliation. Mr. Dixon did not reciprocate Mr. Perry's unwanted advances. These events occurred while Mr. Dixon was employed as a series regular on the Tyler Perry show, The Oval, and while Mr. Perry held direct control over his employment, compensation, and creative opportunities. This lawsuit even compares Perry to some other infamous celebrities who have been called out for their behavior in the past. Quote, "Just like Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Sean P. Diddy Combs, Kevin Spacey, Roger Ailes, and many others in the industry, Mr. Perry's success has led him to believe that money and influence can get him whatever he wants. That belief slowly transformed into the false idea that Mr. Perry can get whomever he wants." According to the lawsuit, Dixon was working as part of an event staff at a party that Perry was hosting in Atlanta. Perry noticed him and offered him the chance to audition for a part in one of his hit TV shows. Before we get back to this bombshell lawsuit involving Tyler Perry, I want to bring you a law and crime legal alert. If you received a Depo-Provera birth control shot and were later diagnosed with a brain or a spinal tumor called meningioma, you may be for a lawsuit. Dixon did have a small part on Perry's show called Ruthless. Then he returned to his event staff job, through which he was hired to work at Perry's parties in places like Los Angeles and Jackson Hole, Wyoming. As Dixon spent more time with Perry, he says that Perry would flirt with him through text messages, and his advances became more aggressive. Dixon claims that he was invited to Perry's Georgia home, where he and Perry drank together. When Perry told him he was too drunk to drive and offered him his guest bedroom, Dixon says he accepted. But then he claims that while he was asleep, Perry climbed into bed with him and tried to initiate sex. Dixon says he tried to distance himself from Perry, but he was offered a role on Perry's show, The Oval. The lawsuit then reads, Dixon did his best to tiptoe around Tyler Perry's sexual aggression while keeping on Mr. Perry's good side. Mr. Perry made it clear to Dixon that if Dixon ignored Perry or failed to engage with the sexual innuendos, Dixon's character would die in the next season. Indeed, Dixon's character Dale was shot 4 times in the chest at the end of his first season on The Oval, and Perry always held this over Dixon's head, implying that Dale would survive if Dixon kept Perry, quote, happy. According to the complaint, Perry had made it clear to Dixon that he would kill characters in order to get an actor to be loyal or obedient. During the pandemic, Dixon says Perry convinced him to stay in one of the houses that was part of Tyler Perry's studios. Quote, in April of 2020, and while Dixon was living in the studio homes on set, Perry often coerced Dixon to drink alcohol and then get on the phone with Perry. Perry would frequently have someone drop off alcohol at Dixon's door. Perry would eventually turn these phone calls into sexually explicit rants. Perry would get frustrated with Dixon and tell Dixon that he was not giving Perry, quote, what he needs. Dixon's refusal to succumb to Perry's sexual advances caused Perry to be ever more frustrated. Eventually, Perry warned Dixon that if Dixon told his castmates about the harassment, Dixon would be opening himself up to lots of, quote, questions and foolishness, and demanded that Dixon not discuss any of their conversations with his castmates. Dixon's lawsuit also listed out some of the sexual commentary by Perry that Dixon claimed he experienced while filming The Oval in 2020. This is what he says that Perry told him. Dixon said that Perry told him, quote, that he liked being choked. That was after Dixon's character was choked by a cast member in a scene on The Oval. Perry also allegedly said, "Why do you twist your hips when you walk? How can I get a day of Dixon? When will you be thick again? I love how I feel right now, but I don't like being horny. I feel sorry for the first person who flirts with me, and I've been trying to put that energy somewhere else, but everything is sexual on this stuff." The lawsuit also contained numerous text messages from Perry to Dixon, some of which seem to have been sent when Perry was intoxicated, and if Dixon didn't respond, according to the complaint, Perry would hound him. Dixon also claims the harassment turned physical. Quote, "On multiple occasions, Mr. Perry sexually assaulted Mr. Dixon, including one instance where he forcibly pulled off Mr. Dixon's clothing, groped his buttocks, and attempted to force himself on Dixon. Mr. Dixon told a drunken Perry no and attempted to remove Mr. Perry's hands, but Mr. Perry held tightly onto Dixon's wrists. Mr. Dixon was only able to escape after de-escalating the situation by abruptly changing the subject. The day after the assault, Mr. Perry called and texted Mr. Dixon relentlessly, saying, "Tried you, call me, and I really need to talk to you. Please call me as soon as you can." And finally, when Mr. Dixon answered Tyler Perry's call, Mr. Perry profusely apologized for the sexual assault while blaming it on other things. Perry continued, quote, "He didn't know why he would do that. Maybe he was self-sabotaging." On the very same call where he apologized for the sexual assault against Dixon, Perry told Dixon, quote, "And don't worry, we're going to do your show," referring to the pilot that Perry knew Mr. Dixon had desperately wanted to produce. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Dixon got a call from Perry's lawyer saying that Christmas had come early and that Dixon was getting a substantial raise and the show was greenlit. Perry's attorney explicitly warned Dixon not to tell any other actor on the show about Dixon's raise because no other actors were getting a raise, only Dixon. Later in the lawsuit, Dixon's lawyers write, in or around April 2022, before beginning to shoot the next season of The Oval, Perry called Dixon to discuss the June 2021 sexual assault. On the phone call, Perry lectured Dixon about how Dixon was overreacting to the sexual assault because of prior sexual assaults in Dixon's life. Perry said that there was a misunderstanding and miscommunication and that Dixon needed to say no stronger. In other words, Perry blamed Dixon for the sexual assault, claiming that Perry felt that Dixon's no was really a yes because Dixon did not say no strongly enough. Dixon says he finally, quote, woke up to the fact that Perry was allegedly stringing him along about working with him on his own show to keep him around to be sexually harassed. In 2024, Dixon reported Perry's alleged conduct to the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. According to the lawsuit, after reporting the sexual harassment, defendants, which is Perry and his studio, did not make any investigation into the complaint and did not take any steps to prevent further harassment from occurring. Because defendants took no action to prevent further assault or harassment, Dixon had to quit his job working on the last season of The Oval. Dixon did so even though he was under contract to finish filming and stood to make close to $400,000. Dixon did not want to be sexually harassed or be placed in danger of a sexual assault again. Defendant then retaliated against Dixon. Defendant told Dixon if he quits and told the other actors why he quit, he would be in breach of his contract. Defendants told Dixon that the only way out was to portray his departure from the show as a medical leave due to the emotional distress caused by the sexual harassment. Instead, defendant made the leave of absence unpaid and therefore terminated plaintiff's employment, causing Dixon additional loss of income and insult. But Tyler Perry is fighting back. In a statement, an attorney for Perry reportedly said the allegations are a, quote, scam. The attorney went on to say, "We are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail." The attorney, who according to TMZ is identified as Matthew Boyd, said in full, "This is an individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam. But Tyler will not be shaken down, and we are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail." Joining us now is former federal prosecutor and president of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani. Thank you for taking the time, as always, to be with us here on Law and Crime. I know we're still gathering information about exactly what Derek Dixon is accusing Tyler Perry of, but from what we know right now, how strong of a case does it seem that he has?
Chris, thanks for having me. Really breaking news today, bombshell lawsuit against Tyler Perry, and information is coming in, but it does seem to be a strong case, at least in terms of the text messages. Sometimes in these sexual harassment cases, really the harassing behavior happens behind closed doors, and it's a he said, or he said, she said, or she said type situation. But text messages are fantastic, whether you're a prosecutor or a civil plaintiff's lawyer like I am. And looks like Dixon may have the receipts in this case.
Yeah, he's looking for $260 million. Even though Tyler Perry is a billionaire, that's still, in terms of net worth, just from what I've been reading online, $260 million is a lot of money. What does that tell you? And when someone sues someone, like in this instance, it's not a criminal case, and you're looking for a specific amount of money, what goes into determining what that is?
Yeah, lawyers can say all sorts of things. Really, ultimately, what matters is what they ask the jury for. So they can ask for less or more during closing arguments. So I usually put that aside. It gets a lot of good headlines, but I can't imagine this case being worth 9 figures. Sexual harassment is wrong. No one should be subject to it. And sometimes you get these nuclear verdicts or runaway juries, but I can't imagine a case like this going for that amount, even though, like I said, I don't condone any of this behavior.
No, and Derek Dixon, he has some text messages that that very much show. I mean, if Tyler Perry was someone who was supposed to be professionally his boss, that was going to open up career opportunities, it's not something that a boss would be allowed to say to an employee if that was the relationship. When it comes to this case, what's the bar that Derek Dixon would have to prove in court to get money from Tyler Perry?
So there's a few different claims, and they're all very serious. I'm not trying to downplay any of this. There's a sexual assault, right? Grabbing his buttocks, pulling his underwear. That's serious stuff. And then you have sexual harassment. What I say is really the worst kind of sexual harassment, which is the quid pro quo. That means, hey, if you perform sexually, I will help your career. And if you don't, I'm going to retaliate. And here is that Dixon was going to be written off the show if he didn't comply with these sexual demands. So, when you go to law school or you study employment law, that is the textbook quid pro quo sexual harassment, this for that. You give me something, you get a benefit, and if you don't, you're going to be punished.
And Tyler Perry, I mean, he is an institution in Hollywood. He's not the type of person, if you were an actor, that you would wouldn't want to be on his bad list. Their relationship started around 2019. The most serious incident, according to what we know thus far, is that incident where he was said he was only having, Derek Dixon said he was staying at Tyler Perry's guest house in Atlanta. He was only wearing underwear, and Tyler Perry apparently pulled his underwear down. That was back in 2021. It's now 2025. What do you make of the timeline that it took for Derek Dixon to come forward with these allegations, if they're true?
Well, that's one of the arguments the defense always makes, right? Is, well, if you were sexually assaulted or harassed, why did you stay? Why didn't you report it right away? What I love as the plaintiff's lawyer is the contemporaneous report. So hopefully they have that. And I understand he's been getting therapy since 2020. So if he mentioned this to his therapist, that would certainly be helpful. In addition to the text message evidence that we had. Sometimes victims don't want to come forward, right? You're talking about a rich and famous individual. And look at what's happened. Perry's lawyer came out and said, this guy's lying. This is a shakedown. This is extortion, right? They always go after the victim. And we don't know if the allegations are true in this case or not, but very few sexual harassment cases are reported or litigated, and oftentimes the harassers, they get away with it. So, if you read the lawsuit in this case, it's definitely meant for public consumption. It has those text messages embedded in, and it starts by comparing Tyler Perry to the Harvey Weinsteins and Diddy's of the world. And I'm not saying we've gotten that far, but those are serious sex trafficking, sexual assault allegations. Sexual harassment is wrong, and there is some sexual assault certainly alleged in this case, but sometimes people don't want to come forward, because if you're a victim, you're going to have to really tell your story in a very, very public way. What is interesting, though, is under California law, he could have filed a Doe or Jane Doe, and he chose not to. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, what does that tell you? Because in some ways, I could see if I was the defense to say Derek Dixon wants some notoriety. He's not a household name. He hasn't been in a lot of high-profile shows. He was in a couple Tyler Perry shows. But if you're the defense, and do you look at that he didn't file as a John Doe and say, look, this is proof that this was a shakedown, which is the term that they've used?
Look, it's interesting. Obviously, the fact that he didn't file as a John Doe, that's not an argument that the defense can make. But really, and I've sued a lot of celebrities. I'm sitting here in Hollywood right now. I've represented some, but sued a lot more. So cases like this, most of the time the victims will come in, and when I explain they have pause, right? Like, oh my God, people are going to come after me. They're going to drag me on social media. They're going to call me a liar. I'm never going to work again in Hollywood, right? After making an accusation like this. And then I tell them, there are certain circumstances where you can file as a Jane Doe or a John Doe. And most of the time, the victims do want to avail themselves of that protection. Now, sometimes I really hate it. Even the case, some of them have unmasked the victim. And obviously, that's in New York law and federal court, a little bit different, right? In California, the protection is pretty broad, and most of the time, the victims want to present anonymously to at least themselves in the family.
When it comes to Straw, it's the most popular Netflix movie of 2025 thus far, 50 million views in its second week. And here's this lawsuit that comes out. The defense might look at that and say, well, you're being opportunistic. But at the same time, I mean, if you are suing someone powerful, how much does the timing factor into when you unveil this lawsuit?
There is a PR component as well. Litigation is about leverage, and I would be lying if I didn't consider that. I've come on Law and Crime, and I've talked about lawsuits. I filed against Kanye, Lizzo, or any number of celebrities, right? Because it can put pressure on them to settle. Now, sometimes they dig in their heels, and that's what judges and juries are for. But if you are trying to advocate on behalf of your client, whether it's a confidential settlement demand, a mediation, or litigating it in the court of public opinion, it matters, right? I mean, you're looking at the Justin Baldoni Blake Lively case. That case is almost as much outside the courtroom as it actually is in the courtroom. Everyone reputation to it, and whether it's culture or just bad press, it can force a defendant to settle. So that's a tool that you have to use if you're a plaintiff attorney.
So they want to force him to settle. Do you guys think Tyler Perry will? I think Tyler Perry has made verbiage, but I don't think it's been towards the lawsuit as of yet.
representing victims like this.
How likely is it that the plaintiff's attorneys had spoken with Tyler Perry's representation ahead of this news coming out today?
I think it's very likely. There's two types of lawyers, and I don't know this particular lawyer personally, but I could tell you that most of the time, a lawyer will send a demand, right? They'll send a demand, they'll enter into negotiations, they'll break down, and that's what will happen. I mean, in Cassie's case, there were, pre-filing negotiations with Diddy's team, and they ran out of time. I personally don't like doing that. For me, I'm going to take a case. I'm taking it because I believe that it's the right case and I'm going to file a lawsuit. I don't like to bark if I'm going to bite. But again, it's a personal preference that I have. There's all sorts of problems with the pre-litigation demand. They say that this is a shakedown, this is extortion, this isn't about justice. So personally, I like to file my lawsuit. I don't ask for a specific number. I say, you know what? I'm going to talk to the jury when the time is right, because that helps, avoid the defense's argument that this person's asking for $200 million and, he's never made, more than $200,000 in his entire life. I think he's saying the loss of earnings here is $400,000. Where you're getting at this number, it's astronomical. So, you avoid some of that bad press and that backlash by just filing your lawsuit and moving the case forward.
And with that, considering Dixon he's not a millionaire, he's certainly not.
And we're going to stop right there. What do you guys really see, you know what I'm saying, from the text messages that are exchanged, and or it did happen? He got in the bed at Tyler Perry's house, reached for his manhood, or however have you, is worth $260 million. Okay. Granted, it could be seen as workforce sexual harassment. Tyler Perry did employ this man at the time of the incident going on, and however have you. So, we're going to have to continue to sip this tea and find out.
In the same financial category as Tyler Perry, how much money does it cost him to keep this going?
Well, these cases, we handle at our firm on a contingency fee basis, which means we're not getting paid hourly. Take a case, we believe that we can win and we can collect. So most lawyers who handle these cases work on that. So some of them will charge hourly. The reason we do this is in the game working by side by plan, because you're right, be very lawyer. He's burned, they gave his $2,000. Someone in that number close to this.
Because then I think, and I was thinking about Diddy because he's facing all those civil lawsuits as well. And even if some of those lawsuits don't hold up, it still costs money to have an attorney argue on your behalf in court. On Tyler Perry's side, and I'm sure he has a team, he probably has an entire law firm at his disposal with the money he has. But financially, from his side of this, what does the cost look like in pushing back? And you also wonder, and I don't know this for sure, but if this is, if there's more lawsuits that come forward and you have people who say that there were these types of allegations, that hasn't happened. But I think if in Diddy's case, you saw one after another come forward. Financially for Tyler Perry, what could this look like?
Well, it can look bad. So obviously, like you said, Chris, I expect that Tyler Perry has a small army of lawyers on retainer. And there's going to be individuals that have experience handling employment cases, employment defense lawyers. This is what they do all day, every day. They're going to handle the case. And I expect them to be part of some big firm here in Los Angeles or in Georgia, where Tyler lives. Victims, that is a real concern. And again, I'm not saying these allegations are true, but if they are, Chris, oftentimes abusers abuse more than one victim, right? Obviously, in the Diddy case, right, everyone came out, almost 100 victims. But even in Weinstein, right, that's what Me Too is all about. It's not just me. There's other people that were affected and were harassed. So if the allegations are true and now we're Tyler Perry, I would have big concerns that, you know what, other people are going to come forward and it might be a snowball type effect.
And that we just read within the last hour of recording, pretty dynamic. Even if allegations aren't true, to see what Tyler Perry was texting changes the way you view Tyler. If what combination would his legal team have to settling this case or continue forward and fighting that more potential could come out?
Serious concerns. Messages talking about wanting to
is coming off of a ASAP Rocky trial. And he wanted to have something big. Tyler Perry came up. Unfortunately, he's sued right off of the back of Netflix, grossing over 50 on Netflix.
$2 lawsuit, guys. And the claims, you might ask, I went back one of his former now, and that is got sued Tyler, and where Tyler allegedly picked him out of the crowd, asked for his number, and hinted there might be acting opportunities ahead. Shortly after, Derek landed a small part in 2 episodes of Tyler Perry's show, Ruthless, and that's when things started to get complicated. In January of 2020, Tyler invited him to Atlanta home, expecting he drank too much that allegedly climbing into bed and touching his thighs, and he says he shut it down immediately. But that wasn't the end. Derek later secured a more significant role in Tyler Perry's hit series The Oval, which was a major step forward in his career. But according to the lawsuit, around the same time, Tyler allegedly began sending inappropriate sexually suggestive messages. Screenshots reportedly included Tyler asking about Derek's sexual orientation, saying he has sex with men, and telling Derek no straight man would be walking with or cooking for him unless they wanted to F him. The lawsuit also references more text messages, including one where Tyler reportedly tells him, "I would F you," implying that their dynamic was anything but platonic. The complaint, lodged on June 13th in Los Angeles, accuses Perry of creating a coercive, exploitative dynamic during Dixon's tenure on the shows. Dixon, who portrayed Dale on The Oval, claims Perry promised career advancement, including producing Dixon's pilot and expanded opportunities, but retaliation instead rejected Perry's unwanted advances. The lawsuit described incidents at Perry's home in January 2020, including alleged similar behavior during a cast trip to the Bahamas in October 2020. The complaint also asserts that Dixon's character arc was manipulated as leverage. Perry allegedly warned Dixon that his character's survival depended on granting compliance. At season's end, Dale was shot 4 times in a cliffhanger, which Dixon interprets as a threat. Additionally, acts such as non-consensual groping in a trailer and at Perry's homes are cited as further allegations. Dixon asserts the stress led to serious health issues, including PTSD, prompting his medical provider to prescribe antidepressants. He left The Oval during the final season and lost nearly $400,000 in earnings. What's even more disturbing is that Derek claims the character he played in The Oval, which is a gay, homeless, desperate store clerk who sleeps with people for shelter, was essentially a reflection of what Perry said he was looking for in real life: a partner who is loyal, dependent, and available. The alleged text messages show a picture of Tyler, allegedly a photo that Tyler sent, and Derek allegedly goes, "Nice picture." The alleged text messages show a picture of...
Okay, so it looks like Tyler Perry was sending pictures of himself looking very zesty, standing next to a ski boat. The Derek character says, "Nice picture." Yeah, the water does look calm. Tyler says, "Nice picture, question mark." "Great, amazing, awesome picture," says the Derek guy. Tyler Perry, "You don't see that stud in that nice picture. Rude." Derek says, "Laugh out loud. Yes, that's a stud." So if we did not necessarily so much believe that Tyler Perry was really feeling that dress as Medea, well, we do now. Okay. So moving on.
Of Tyler, allegedly a photo that Tyler sent, and Derek allegedly goes, nice picture. Yeah, the water does look calm. Nice picture. I guess Tyler allegedly got upset that he was pointing out the water and not really talking about Tyler's looks. Allegedly being like, what do you mean, nice picture?
And then I want to go back
awesome
to
picture. About Tyler's looks, allegedly being like, what do you mean, nice picture? Great, amazing, awesome picture. You don't see that stud in that nice picture. Here's some more text messages you guys can pause to read. Then there's this. You mean nice picture? Great, amazing, awesome picture. You don't see that. Tyler allegedly got upset that he was pointing out the water and not really talking about Tyler. Does look calm. Nice picture. I guess Tyler allegedly got upset that he was pointing out the water and not really talking.
Let's pause that right there. This is a good-looking Caucasian male, right? However, he's not Aquaman. He's not, I mean, Tyler Perry does not have to be thirsting over any man that, you know, may also have an interest for Tyler Perry as well. So just the thirst trap that Tyler Perry is seemingly may have been setting for himself, for this white man alone, is giving me Shannon Sharp vibes all over again. Tyler Perry, you know, and yes, I have watched all the damn Medea movies, all the Medea plays, all the Medea cartoons. I'm a big fan of Medea. Okay, Tyler Perry as well. I watched Cross several times. Big fan of Tyler fucking Perry. You know, so the other movie where, you know, he played the rich guy and the light-skinned actress with the, you know, the poor, impoverished actress. He's a black woman playing the struggle part. You know, she ended up with Tyler Perry on the plane at the end, and it just was a fairy tale. Not for nothing, we fuck with Tyler Perry, right? This is giving me thirst trap, Tyler Perry. And I mean, you did not have to set yourself up for any type of payout, seemingly, to diminish any type of wealth that you built for your black ass self. So it looks like Tyler Perry Studios may take a hit. I hope that it doesn't, you know, put a dent in the budgets of my favorite shows, which happen to be like Sisters, The Four Sisters, Beauty in the Black, things like that. So continuing to carry on with my favorite actress, Taraji P. Henson. Let's keep it moving. This shit is crazy.
About Tyler's looks, allegedly being like, what do you mean, nice picture? Great, amazing, awesome picture. You don't see that stud in that nice picture. Here's some more text messages you guys can pause to read. Then there's this one. You know what I cook, Derek, spaghetti, cake, you. I'm so drunk, talking. And things allegedly escalated again later in 2020. Derek says Tyler allegedly invited him back to his Atlanta home, where the conversation quickly turned sexually aggressive. According to the claim, Tyler asked if Derek liked it rough, then grabbed him by the throat and said, look how excited you just got. And in June 2021, during another visit to Tyler's home, Derek alleges that Tyler came into his guest room, pulled down his underwear, and him, saying, relax, just let it happen.
Tyler Perry getting hit with a $260 million lawsuit from a white man for workplace sexual harassment is crazy work. The actor even alleging that one time Tyler Perry grabbed him by the throat and said, look how excited you got. If this is true, it's real freaked out. The whole thing is way too freaked out. Now, people have been speculating that Tyler Perry was into men since Tyler Perry came out. And me personally, I don't care who nobody sleeps with when they in the comfort of their home or outside, for real. And the actor is saying that this didn't happen once. This didn't happen twice, but on several occasions. And the actor plays the role of Dale in The Oval, which is a homeless gay white man. And he's alleging that Tyler Perry told him that that's what he was looking for. He wanted someone who could be dependent on him. Now, in the lawsuit, he also released a bunch of text messages between him and Tyler Perry, but in reading them, I don't really think it says much outside of the fact that it seemed like they might have been flirting with each other. Now, let me be very clear. I am not saying that I do not believe the victim. I'm just telling you what I saw in the text messages that were released by the victim. All that to say, I can't believe they caught Uncle Tyler Perry out here slipping. Whether it was consensual or not, it's crazy work.
Here's some of the top comments about this whole situation. It's very much believable. The Boondocks told us, is this why he paints black women in a bad way in his productions? Messing with snow will get you every time. He said he's coming for Tyler Perry and the studio. I cackled when Tyler sent that photo of himself at the beach and the dude was talking about the water. Tyler got mad, like, what about me? I don't believe the white victim until I have proof. Yeah, I said it. They won't learn. At this point, I'm tired with the entire industry. Shake my head. I'm no victim blamer, but I just cannot see Tyler Perry risking all of his hard work for a certified extra. And this person responding, after all the super wealthy men who risked it all, y'all don't believe that? And usually powerful people pick nobodies because nobody will believe them. Let us see if this is legit or a shakedown. Now again, according to the lawsuit, Derek says he didn't explicitly reject Tyler because he was terrified it would cost him his career. Instead, he tried to brush off the advances by saying that he wasn't the sexual type. He says the fear of retaliation kept him silent. Fast forward to June 2024, Derek finally files a complaint with EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and resigns from the Oval. Tyler's legal team over here is pushing back hard. His attorney Matthew Boyd released a statement to TMZ saying, "This is an individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam. But Tyler will not be shaken down, and we are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail." This story is still developing, but crazy news nonetheless. I want to know what you guys think about all of this in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. I love you guys so much, and as always, I'll see y'all in the
Sippers, drop down in that chat. I want to see your teacups. I see y'all are starting to come in. Where are y'all at on this Sunday? Are y'all still recuperating from Juneteenth? Oh, that's well and good. Tyler Perry is facing, being the top grossing filmmaker right now. One of the top grossing filmmakers, all of that good stuff. Like, it's just a hot mess. He's been accused of essaying a employee. Okay, so yeah, it's a hot mess, and I don't see so much of the text messages being a high dollar lawsuit amount of 160 million. However, this mayonnaise man may be able to pull some money up out of Tyler Perry, like ASAP Rocky's former attorney said. Okay, let's take a listen to what TMZ is sipping tea on Tyler Perry's current situation. Thank you guys so much for sipping tea with Tanisha Talks Teas. Remember, when you come in, to like and subscribe as you are getting your teacup filled up. Let's get it. Oh, actually, Don Lemon. I like Don Lemon. He really unpacks a lot. So I use him as a sipper to get some tea. Okay.
And if you're on Facebook, your comments show up as well on our stuff, so we can read. We can read your comments on Facebook and on YouTube, and so we will prioritize our members. All right, Don, you're doing a great job. Thank you, Super Cool Me. We appreciate it. I think you guys are. It's a full serving tonight, so let's get into it. We're going to start, as I said, with Tyler Perry and the situation that has engulfed him, and we shall see what has happened. But we've got the very latest from the very best right here to discuss with us. Charles Ataboudier is here. Charles, thank you very much for joining, as we call you, Charles from TMZ. This story, a little surprising, a little shocking to me. I feel a certain kind of way, but I want to know what you think about this whole allegations of sexual assault against Tyler Perry.
Yeah, it's it's upsetting, right? Because Tyler Perry is just one of those guys that we put up on a pedestal, and deservedly so, for his accomplishments. But we also know that this is what happens when you are at that level. At some point, somebody is going to file a lawsuit against you. Now, I have no idea whether these allegations are true or not, but they are of a nature that made you stop and go, like, would Tyler Perry really be that guy? But Drew Dixon, who is one of the actors on The Oval, one of Tyler's shows, he says that is exactly the kind of guy Tyler is, and that he pursued him very aggressively for several years. And in this lawsuit, he's got years worth of text messages between them. If they are true, that certainly make it look like Tyler was interested in him and not just as an actor on one of his shows.
I read. Look, you guys broke the story. You read the lawsuit, right?
Yeah.
And it was because it was an exclusive for a while on TMZ, and then everybody picked it up. But I mean, I have to be honest with you, Charles. From the text messages that I read, could they be considered flirtatious? Maybe, unless I'm wrong. They seem very playful. He definitely acknowledged the guy is good looking and handsome and whatever. But it seems like,
right.
They had a close relationship, but I don't see a $260 million sexual assault lawsuit out of this. It appears to be, to me, overreach.
Yeah, I mean, the use of the phrase sexual assault certainly makes you think of a certain act, right? That there was a rape involved here. There was not. He does not allege there was a rape. There were certainly times where there was touching that Drew Dixon did not, or Derek Dixon rather, did not feel comfortable with. And there was one moment allegedly where Tyler grabbed him by his throat and pushed him up against the wall. But the way he describes it is not so much in a beating him up way, but a aggressive, making an aggressive pass at him. Maybe that's what he's considering an assault, but it wasn't sexual. So yeah, using the phrase sexual assault is definitely a loaded term. And I kept looking through the lawsuit for that moment where he felt like something like that did happen, but it's not in there. I mean, like I said, there's the grabbing him by the throat. There's another time that Derek Dixon was invited over to Tyler's house, according to this lawsuit, and Derek admits that he had too much to drink and that he ended up sleeping in one of the guest rooms. And while he was asleep in the guest room, he says that Tyler came in and was rubbing his thighs and clearly making a pass, as he describes it at least. And he says he rejected it, pushed him away, nothing more happened. So, that's as far as how aggressive. There was one other time, and again, these are just the allegations that Dixon is putting in this lawsuit. Tyler Perry his lawyer has said that this is a scam and that they're going to fight it. But there was one other allegation where he said,
okay, so we hear Mr. Charles from TMZ say that Tyler Perry's lawyers have responded back saying this is a scam and Tyler Perry will fight the allegations. So not so much according to what A$AP Rocky's former lawyer spoke to, of him just giving in, not wanting his reputation to be tainted, fear of being blackballed from, being able to produce A+ films with A1 actors and actresses. So let's continue to sip this tea, y'all. Great tea right now about the Tyler Perry lawsuit. Okay.
that he was staying in Tyler's guest house, and for some reason he's in his underwear. He said that's right. He's getting ready to go to bed, and he's in his underwear. He describes it as Tyler coming over to the guest house to sort of say goodnight, and gives him a hug, and then pulls down his underwear. And he said he pulled it back up and they kind of jostled with each other, but he changed the subject and Tyler let it go. The thing that's weird about it, as I was reading the lawsuit, again, I have no idea. I don't know Derek Dixon. I don't really know Tyler Perry either. But obviously I've covered him. And the thing that was odd was that every time that these passes were made, and there are at least 3 that he mentions that he felt were aggressive, Tyler always, as he describes it, just walks away. And in my experience covering these types of stories, covering these lawsuits, that's not usually the way it goes, right? If someone is that person, if they are that kind of person, they don't just walk away and, and nothing more happens. But every time Dixon describes it, he says, I just changed the subject, I pushed him away, and nothing more happened. It's just odd for these kinds of cases. It's not the way we.
I hate doing this, and it hurts my heart to do this story. You know what I mean? But this is what
that's how it.
I don't know. They appear to be frozen for a few seconds.
Okay. Apparently there was an issue with the video. Andy, you know what's going on?
Yeah, MIDI crashed.
With Charles from TMZ. Here it is.
It's just odd for these kinds of cases. It's not the way we.
I hate doing this, and it hurts my heart to do this story. You know what I mean? But this is what
that's how it felt.
I'm a journalist. I have to do it because I don't. Just looking at the lawsuit again, Derek Dixon. If something happened, then okay, then they need to deal with it in a courtroom or deal with it however they deal with it. But again, from as you said when you started this, that when you get to that position, these are the things that can happen to you, and sometimes you can be a target, right? But then, as we have seen, these things can turn out to have weight and legitimacy to them. I personally don't believe that about this one. So I will say that. So as you're reading this lawsuit, I'm sure you had your attorneys read it. You guys go over, you're covered very well. Harvey's an attorney. I'm not sure if you're an attorney, Charles, but as you're reading this, what is the... I'm sorry, you play one on TV, you said?
I play one on TV, but I am not. No.
As you're looking at this, what are your lawyers saying about this lawsuit as you have analyzed it in comparison to other stories like this you have covered?
When our lawyers are looking at it, they're looking for the finer point of it, to figure out what we should put in the story and what's going to be fair, right? We want to make sure this is fair, and we put in the allegations as Derek Dixon laid them out in the lawsuit, and then we talk to Tyler's side and get their reaction to this, and we make sure that is not only in the story, but that it's near the top of the story, that you're going to get some balance here in this. But to answer your question, as I was sitting with our attorney and was looking at this, we both felt what I just said, that there's something that's not adding up here, at least not the way we typically see these allegations laid out. And it did seem to me that there's some relationship. As we were reading it, we felt like, all right, these guys definitely, there's too much detail for all of this to just be made up. So I do believe that obviously he's an actor on one of Tyler's shows, so they have some relationship there. And there's enough communication, enough times that he's invited to Tyler's house. Like, you don't say in a lawsuit that you were at Tyler Perry's house from this date until this date if you weren't, because that's the easiest thing for him to disprove. There are cameras everywhere at his mansion. They'll be able to prove whether you were there or not. So you wouldn't make that part up. Now, As for what happened while you were there, that's where we don't know, because Derek Dixon and Tyler Perry were there. They're the only ones who know for sure, and that's why this, may end up having to be settled in court. But Tyler says he's going to fight it. He says his lawyer acknowledged that this is what the way he put it was, this is someone who got close to Tyler purely for the purpose of a scam, and he said that we intend to fight it.
Yeah. So having said that, a couple of things. It does speak to, because Tyler has a lot of money, and if Tyler wanted to make this go away, it could go away without him feeling anything, even if he had to pay $260 million, which I don't think is going to happen. Whatever.
Yeah.
Tyler can afford to. Tyler has a lot of money, and so he could make it go away. So he must believe in his innocence, and his attorneys must trust him enough to not to settle this thing. That part. Go on. Sorry.
I always hesitate to look at it that way, Don, because yes, just because someone has a lot of money and they could make it go away, the fact that they're not making it go away does not necessarily mean that the allegations are true or false. You know what I mean? Like, and I hear what you're saying, that
I'm saying believes that he can win this. That's what he must somehow believe. I don't know.
Here's another way to look at it. And again, I don't know, but another way to look at it is, let's just for giggles say that Dixon's allegations are true. If you're Tyler Perry, you have way more money than he does, and you can outlast him in a court battle. And sometimes you take that approach, right? I mean, we've seen that happen in the past also. So that's why I always hesitate to say, just because someone can make it go away and they didn't, doesn't necessarily mean, doesn't point to whether the allegations are true or false. I get what you're saying, that he feels he can win, but what is winning? Does that mean going to court and actually going to trial and winning, or just outlasting him and, eventually there's a settlement, but it's a really small settlement?
Yeah.
That may also
I'm sorry, may also what?
That could also feel like a victory. So I just, that's why I hesitate to say just because someone could make it go away.
Okay.
You don't know.
Look, you know more about this than I do. This is not the type of story that I usually cover, except that it's a big star. It's everywhere, and it has crossed over into every single thing. Tyler Perry is a billionaire. He has done a lot for society. He is a known name, and when you guys had to know when you published this that it was going to go, it was going to explode. I also want to know.
I just want to say something, because you touched on this. It is really difficult when you know the things that Tyler Perry has done, what he's meant to several communities, and what he's done for actors and for Hollywood. And we've certainly worked with him in the past and covered him. And we know one side of Tyler Perry, this amazing human being. And so when you have to cover a story where the allegations are like this, yeah, it's tough. And we talk about it. We talked about it a lot and there are details, I'll be honest, there are details in that lawsuit that we didn't put in the story because I have no idea. They were just too lurid. There were very lurid allegations that you hesitate to put all that out there when you just don't know if it's true.
Well, I'm wondering, Charles, what this does reputationally. Let me play. You guys also have this up on your site about Tyler Perry. This was just before the lawsuit was filed, and I want to know why you guys put this one up. Here it is.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He got the whole world in his hands. Hey, I'm just sitting here on my porch, just looking. What am I looking at? I'm looking to the hills from whence cometh my help. For my help, some of y'all know the rest.
Cometh from the Lord.
I just wanted to come on and just tell everybody, just be as calm as you can.
My help cometh from the Lord. Be as calm as you can. Now, I'm not sure if anything came after that. So, but what is that?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm not, obviously, I'm normally casual at work, super casual now. because I'm actually not at work today. But I wanted to get on and talk to you about this story because it is important. I don't know. I know why. So I wasn't involved in posting that clip of Tyler that went up this morning, and I get it. I would imagine the reason they put it up is, he posted that a couple of hours before this lawsuit, before we posted the story.
Perhaps it was some sort of a warning or foreshadowing or something. Is that what
he
you're
knew
thinking?
something was coming. The reason I can say that, when we called them for comment, they were well aware of the lawsuit. And I know this because we got a response from them maybe 10 minutes after we called. And it doesn't normally, if they don't know about it, if they're it's the first they're hearing about it, you don't get a response that quickly from a publicist or a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of conversations that have to go on. So I'm sure to the staff at the office, they saw that clip, and the fact that he posted it a couple hours before the lawsuit, we posted our story. It seems like he was maybe preparing his fans, right? That everyone stay calm. You may hear some stuff, but don't worry about it. We're going to deal with this. And, I'm the same guy that you've always known and loved.
How does this affect him reputationally in Hollywood? Does this have any effect? What do you think?
Not yet. I think, here's the fear. I should say the fear. If I'm Tyler Perry, this is what I'm afraid of. Because we've seen this play out many times before. One person comes forward with an allegation or allegations, and whether they're true or false, I don't know. But there are other people who will hear this, and maybe they were alleged victims, or maybe they're not, and maybe they're just opportunists. But those things happen. It absolutely does happen. And if I'm Tyler Perry, I'm thinking, are there going to be other people who suddenly come forward with whether they're true or false allegations? But once you start to have multiple people making allegations, then I think it does potentially harm your reputation.
Yeah.
This one, at this point, based on what's in the lawsuit and Tyler's pretty strong response to it, I don't think it's going to damage his reputation at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It would take more. I think we know what he's done. I think it would take more than this one allegation, unless, of course, the allegation is proven. If Derek Dixon wins, well, then, yeah, obviously that's a hit.
So let me ask you then, for him, and we discussed this, Tyler Perry very rarely talks about his personal life. He has talked about, some things, but he hasn't declared anything about his sexuality or anything like that. So this would imply, that Tyler is in the closet or something like that, or he's gay and he's not revealing it. Did that come into play when you were?
Yeah, that was definitely a discussion we had, Don, because just as a policy, we don't do stories where people are being outed. And I don't know that this story is outing Tyler Perry because I don't know if any of the allegations are true. But you're right, Tyler doesn't talk about those things. And that was a difficult part of this where we talked about it. Like, do we want to do this story? Because if it's true, it's outing him. But also, if it's true, there were, crimes that happened here, or at least, things that Tyler would be liable for, if it's true. If it's not true, then someone is harming his reputation just because of the allegations themselves, and they're also trying to out someone, and that just didn't feel good. I mean, that's, again, we talked about the reasons why we didn't feel great doing the story, and that's just the reality of journalism, right? That sometimes you're going to do a story that you would rather not, but you have to do it. That's the job. And we always express these are allegations someone's putting out there. We have no idea if it's true, but it is in a lawsuit, and Tyler Perry is now going to deal with that.
Charles, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming. Obviously, it's on your day off, and we at the download
Okay, y'all, we're gonna finish up some stuff on Tyler Perry. Okay, that's the a Caucasian man that played on his show called The Oval. Derek somebody, right? And he's suing Tyler for $260 motherfucking million, a lot of money. We are now going to sip some tea from Fat Joe. Fat Joe is also up as well with a lawsuit. A lot seemingly looking like the Diddy case. Okay. Fat Joe has been sued for essaying children and making one of his bodyguards or assistants or some goddamn body, y'all, do a whole bunch of sexual explicit things of the things of the things. I don't really know all the things, so I'm gonna sip some tea, y'all. Let's get into it.
My bad, my bad, my bad. It was wildin'. It was definitely wildin' today. I don't know what was going on. And if we do not need no music. No music. That means cut the music off. Scarring as a warning to TA during disputes, particularly over compensation. The document states the message was clear. If you cross me, you'll end up like him. Explicitly aimed at scarring TA into not put Curtis Jackson. So because maybe it's not under 50 Cent, it's still under Curtis Jackson. So it's the same thing. So that was the prompt. It just says the name 50 Cent appears in the provided document number and the top right, the case number. So I'll make sure you see that. See this case, you can see this right here. So if you want to, let me see if I can zoom in for you because I didn't use this program before. So this is just, this is actually.
So we're gonna listen to Doggy Diamond's channel over on YouTube. Go over and subscribe. He's gonna read Fat Joe's lawsuit. The reason why I'm gonna delve more into his is because I think unless he settles this lawsuit, it's gonna be like a Diddy trial, and we're gonna want to know all of the facts. Okay, so let's listen to Doggy Diamonds now read the lawsuit.
Just Bing, but I never used Bing before to read any paperwork. So you can see the case number right here. I know y'all can see this. You can see the case number. Everything is right here. I'm trying to find out where do I zoom in at. It's probably somewhere, but I don't have time to be looking. I just don't feel like doing all that. It's probably right in my face, but I'm blind, as you know. So that's why I be struggling sometimes. I be misreading shit because I can't see. You know, I can't see. So that's the issue with that. I wanted to show y'all that. So without any further ado, shout out to everybody in the room. Shout out to everybody who pulled up. What I did was, and I was able to run the paperwork through AI and actually get the notes that I need that I felt was important. So that's what I did. So this is what I'm about to show y'all right now. I was able to get the notes that I needed, and that's what I did. So I didn't have to go through paperwork. Wait, see, I appreciate you. So what I did was I took the paperwork because I have the actual paperwork too. You know, I showed y'all that, but I have the file. So what I did was I researched it, and you can see what my prompts was. I said, can you research this and find 50 Cent name in this article? Which I didn't find 50 Cent name in the article. It just says the name 50 Cent appears in the provided document on page 135 in the context of predicate act that an intimidation Dre. Specifically, paragraph 673 states, defendant Carnegie specifically targeted Dre, a prominent music producer from the duo Cool and Dre, after Dre produced the beat for rapper 50 Cent hit song Hate or Love It. Defendant Carnegie viewed this professional collaboration as betrayal and alignment with his rival, prompting immediate retaliation. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that Fat Joe was mad at 50. Well, mad at Dre for producing 450, which I didn't know that he would think is producing 450 because it was for Game. So maybe because Game did the record and 50 is on it. So I didn't know this. So I did this by accident. I'm going to zoom in really quick if I could, because like I said, as y'all know, there we go. That's even better. That's looking good. Can't see. So this is it. So he actually was mad at Dre for doing Hate It or Love It for 50 Cent, as you can see in the paperwork. He was mad. Then I put Curtis Jackson. So because maybe it's not under 50 Cent, it's still under Curtis Jackson. So it's the same thing. So that was the prompt that I put in. If you know anything about AI, how to use it to your advantage. A lot of people spook y'all with AI and they scare you, but it's not anything to be afraid of if you know how to use it to your advantage. In this case, I used it to summarize this paperwork. Then I put, how about scaring TA? It said the provided document, a civil complaint filed by Terrence Dixon, aka TA, against Joseph Antonio Cartagena. Man, I'm mad nasal. Fat Joe and others contains several allegations related to actions that could be interpreted as intimidation or TA. Below, I summarize the relevant instances where the document describes actions intended to frighten, coerce, or intimidate TA based on the content provided. And what I like about what this did, it actually shows the page, the paragraph, and everything. This is like some Bible, verses and all that. I know what it is too. The lights are too hot. I got to fix the lights later, but after the show. So it said threats of, I don't want to say that word out loud. So if I omit words, it's because of, these folks like messing with me. Plus, this dude is with such and such nation. How they be getting people shut down. But I'm going to read it for you. So it said threats of V and references to past attacks. Paragraph 122 to 125. And this is the first time I'm reading this. I did not read this prior to this. I just actually got it all together for y'all to read this. So it says, defendant Cartagena, paragraph 122 to 125, page 18. Defendant Cartagena repeatedly warned TA stating, nobody leaves Terror Squad in one piece. He reinforced this by referencing the VA on former Louis Cuban Link Taiban, who was scarred and humiliated after leaving Cartagena's circle. These statements were intended to convey that resistance or demands for fair treatment would lead to severe physical harm, creating a climate of fear for TA. Woo! It's kind of crazy. Paragraph 149 to 152, page 21 to 22. Cartagena frequently referenced Cuban links which left permanent nerve damage and scarring as a warning to TA during disputes, particularly over compensation. The document states, the message was clear. If you cross me, you'll end up like him. Explicitly aimed at scarring TA into compliance. So that could probably be the that could probably be, what part of the lawsuit would this be considered to be? This probably would be considered to be, would this be extortion? I don't know. I'm not no law dude. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't no paperwork dude either. I'm just reading this. So it says, threats of abandonment. That's the title of this. Paragraph 127, page 18. Cartagena threatened to strand TA in foreign locations without resources on multiple occasions. Followed through, leaving TA without food, shelter, or safe transit. These actions intensify TA's fear and dependency, designed to scare him into submission. Paragraph 136, page 20. When TA resisted a coerced encounter, Cartagena retaliated by canceling TA's flight home, stranding him abroad without money or support, placing him in a vulnerable and frightening position. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. And again, if y'all wondering why am I reading from here, I do have the actual paperwork, but what I did is I got it to summarize it for me. You can see right here, this is the paperwork. I do have the paperwork. Don't think I don't have it. Don't think I'm just making stuff up. I am reading summarized. I got it to summarize it for me, because if I had to read all of this, man, forget about it. So I got it to summarize it for me. Social media threats. Paragraph 700 through 714, pages 140 to 142. Predicate Act 19. After TA began exposing the enterprise's illegal operation, burner Instagram accounts, examples BitGGGG, Dr. Shabag, allegedly operated by Cartagena's associate, sent threatening messages to TA, including, "We let you live. You love your family, right? Fall back in 48 hours. The dawn doesn't forget." These messages, timed with TA's public actions and legal filings, were intended to intimidate and scare him into silence, causing panic attacks, insomnia, and hypervigilance. The document describes these as a part of prolonged and escalating campaign of psychological terror. Physical intimidation by enforcers. So, Pistol Pete, shout out, I know Pistol Pete. Me and Pistol Pete has always had a great relationship, the Puerto Rican Pistol Pete. My relationship with Pistol Pete started because of my brother Mike Beck. He was at that time a part of Kill All Rats. And rest in peace to Mike Beck. That was my brother. That's how I met Pete. And Pete has always been fair with me, always been cool with me. Again, what I am reading is just the paperwork. Does not mean that it's true. I'm just reading the lawsuit. That does not mean this is true. Nobody has been convicted of any wrongdoing. These are just allegations and accusations for now. So we have to treat it like that. But rest in peace to my brother Mike Beck, for sure. Shout out to Pistol Pete. Pistol Pete has been in the YouTube blogosphere lately by some of the statements that he made about his actions in Kaksaki before. A lot of the bros that I know personally have came out and said that he was capping. That's their politic. That's not mine. So, physical intimidation by enforcers. Paragraph 56, page 9. Defendant. So because he's named in this lawsuit as well. Defendant Pistol Pete Torres, described as Cartagena's primary enforcer, coordinated threats against TA, including attempts to orchestrate an ambush using coded language like pound him out and catch up. I never heard catch up. I heard about somebody getting pounded out before. These actions were meant to instill fear in TA to maintain enterprise control. And when they start using words like enterprise, that's when we start knowing that that's that RICO shit. Paragraph 709, page 141. Torres and Richard Rich Player, I'm not trying to pronounce their last name, are alleged to have directed or managed the threatening social media accounts, further scaring TA by leveraging the enterprise violent reputation. Psychological and coercion. Paragraph 121 to 131, pages 17 to 19. Cartagena cultivate an environment of psychological manipulation through verbal, erratic payments and threats, resulting in chronic anxiety and trauma for TA. The constant fear of violent retaliations. I didn't mean to say that word. I meant to say violent. The constant fear of retaliation or career destruction was designed to keep TA submissive. Paragraph 132 to 145, pages 19 to 21. Predicate Act 21, pages 144 to 147. TA was coerced into acts and public exhibitionism under surveillance, often with Cartagena watching or directing. Refusal led to threats of financial ruin or abandonment, creating a terrifying environment where compliance was enforced through fear. The document notes TA suffered PTSD, panic attacks, and disassociation as a result. They trying to say he was on some Diddy shit? TA was coerced into in public exhibitionism under surveillance, often with Cartagena watching or directing. That's some Diddyism. Again, this is all alleged. This is what the paperwork say. What are these niggas into? Goodness gracious. Anyway. Retaliatory lawsuit. Paragraph 31 to 33, Cartagena and Roc Nation filed a baseless lawsuit against TA and his counsel, described as an attempt to intimidate, harass, and scare TA into abandoning his claims. The lawsuit aimed to burden TA financially and chill his pursuit of justice, reinforcing a fear of retaliation. So basically, the summary of it is this. The document details a pattern of actions by Cartagena, who was Fat Joe, and his associates, explicitly designed to scare TA into submission, silence, and continued exploitation. These include direct threats of references to past abandonment in foreign countries. Damn, you left that nigga in a foreign country. Menacing social media messages, physical intimidation by enforcers, psychological manipulation, coerced, and a retaliatory lawsuit. These actions caused TA significant emotional distress, including anxiety, PTSD, and fear for his safety, as documented in the complaint. If you meant a specific incident or context, i.g., a particular event or person like Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent scaring TA, please clarify. So that's asking me, what did I mean when I asked was 50 Cent? Because I wonder, one of the reasons why I asked anything about 50 Cent, for clarity, I was wondering if TA was around while G-Unit and Terror Squad were beefing, and did he ever hear anything? So that's why I asked it. Is it in the paperwork? Because again, I don't have time to listen and read the paperwork. I don't have time to do that. So I wanted to do the show, so I was able to summarize that for you. I'm pretty sure it's more later on. If I dig into other facets of the paperwork, I will read it aloud to you. But this is what I asked it. This, if you don't know, this is why I use programs like X. It has a program called Grok in it, and I use Grok. And it says, can you research this and find 50 Cent name in this article? That was the prompt. And it says the name 50 Cent appears in the provided document on page 135, context of predicate act. You see what it says, an intimidation of Dre. And I did hear that Dre is all in this paperwork too, which I'll get to another day because it gets kind of deep. I could get into the other things with about the majors, cold word, but they don't allow me to do certain things on these platforms. People could put certain titles, certain thumbnails. When I do it, they be like, nah, get him up out of here. So I'm doing what I can within the confines of what they allow me to do. So you might see other channels and other people, they ain't been in the culture for 20 years. They're not under a radar. They're not under a microscope. They haven't been deep. You know, the word that they did to me, so that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. So defendant Cartagena specifically targeted Dre. And this is Dre from Cool and Dre, who did Hate It or Love It. They did a lot of records. A prominent music producer from the duo Cool and Dre, after Dre produced the beat for rapper 50 Cent's hit song Hate It or Love It. Defendant Cartagena viewed this professional collaboration as a betrayal and alignment with his rival, prompting immediate retaliation. What I could do in front of you and show you something in real time. How did Cartagena retaliate against Dre? And I'll ask that in real time. Okay, now see what I just did was I asked it in real time based on the paperwork. And it says, according to the provided document, and it gives you the case number, document 3. See, y'all ain't getting nothing like this nowhere else, man. Hit that goddamn like button, man. My camera looking bad, looking shabby, still look better than other people, but I ain't got my color correction right. But I'm just trying to put in this work. And again, V05144, document 3, filed on that day. Joseph Antonio Cartagena, aka Fat Joe, retaliated against Dre, a music producer from the duo Cool and Dre, due to Dre's collaboration with rapper 50 Cent, which Cartagena perceived as a betrayal. The details of this retaliations are outlined in Predicate Act 17, assault and intimidation. And I can't, read it on pages 135 to 137, paragraphs 672 and 681. Below is a summary of how Cartagena retaliated against Dre. Ordering, Cartagena targeted Dre after Dre produced the beat for 50 Cent's hit song Hate or Love It, viewing this collaboration as alignment with his rival. That was paragraph 673. On paragraph 674, to punish Dre and send a message to the music industry, Cartagena issued a direct order from his enforcer, Pistol Pete, to physically, the assault was coded as clappy, an enterprise term meaning to slap or physically attack the target. Wow, I never knew this. Wow. This is what happened. According to paragraph 675, Torres forcibly entered Dre's Miami recording studio during an active session, disrupting operation in a certain enterprise authority. This is paragraph 676. Despite Dre's larger physical stature, approximately 6'7", compared to Pistol Pete's 5'8", Torres used intimidation and force. He grabbed Dre by the neck, pulled him down eye level, and explicitly threatened seriously bodily harm if Dre collaborated again with artists considered adversaries of Cartagena. Paragraph 677. Torres physically slapped Dre 3 times in the face to underscore and reinforce Cartagena's reputation. These actions were intended to deter future collaborations and maintain industry compliance through fear. Wow. Purpose and impact. Paragraph 680. Was a public display of Cartagena's enforcement strategy using V to dominate rivals, punish perceived betrayals, and solidify enterprise authority. They keep using that word enterprise for a reason. Keep using that word for a reason. Paragraph 679. The document states that these actions qualify, here we go, as racketeering activity under 18 USC C3PO R2D2. I don't know nothing about that. But this is the racketeering shit. So, summary is Cartagena retaliated against Dre by ordering Pistol Pete to attack him in his Miami studio. Torres slapped Dre 3 times, grabbed him by the neck, and threatened further to prevent future collaborations with Cartagena's rival like 50 Cent. This public assault was designed to intimidate Dre, reinforce Cartagena's dominance, and send a warning to others in the industry. If you need any further details or external research related to this incident, please let me know. Okay, let's go back and ask it. Let's ask it some other things. Is there any question? Oh, ask about, you know, it's funny. I was going to ask about Big Pun. Is Big Pun or culture of fear and control under Cartagena's leadership? Okay, involving a family member. Okay, the document describes an event where an enterprise's member's family was involved in an altercation at UPN NYC, a sneaker and apparel store allegedly used as a front for laundering by Cartagena's enterprise. Damn. Paragraph 664. In 2021, an unnamed enterprise member's cousin.
Okay, we've heard enough of the Fat Joe lawsuit, right? Let's get into some other news about it. Allegedly, Fat Joe has been sued in some RICO-related things, okay, by his former hype man. Okay.
You got knocked the out, man.
What's going on, y'all, and happy Saturday morning. I hope everybody woke up feeling fantastic and ready to conquer their day. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and slide on these topics. And the first thing I want to discuss is the situation going down with Fat Joe. So if you guys haven't heard, Fat Joe is being sued by his former hype man, Terrence Dixon, aka TA, for coercive labor exploitation, financial fraud, sex, UAL manipulation, violent intimidation, and psychological coercion. TA also says that Fat Joe had an inappropriate relationship in my NORS and has coerced him into more than 4,000 SEX UAL acts. And as a result of these alleged egregious acts committed on the part of Fat Joe, TA is seeking $20 million. Now, it's important to note that TA's lawyer is Tyrone Blackburn, and you have to take this with a grain of salt. This is not excusing anything that Fat Joe might have done and certain crimes that he has committed, allegedly, but at the end of the day, Tyrone Blackburn and Tony Busby, they're the same type of lawyer, if I'm going to keep it all the way real with you. Now, another thing that's important to note here is the fact that Fat Joe sued TA for defamation back in April, so the two of them have been going at it. TA has said some things online that Fat Joe deemed to be untrue, and so he went and filed a lawsuit against TA. Now TA is bouncing back with his own lawsuit. Now TA's lawsuit against Fat Joe is 157 pages, and it goes on to say that he personally witnessed Fat Joe engage in sex relations with a girl who was 1'6". She was a Dominican girl from New York, or in New York rather, and basically paid for it in cash, also provided clothing for this young girl and payment for her cell phone bill. Now the suit goes on to mention a situation with a Caucasian female who was only 1'5" at the time that Fat Joe met overseas. Basically, Fat Joe flew this girl over to the United States, to New York and Miami to be specific, on a multitude of occasions, and because she was undeveloped aesthetically, Fat Joe ended up buying her a BBL. But eventually she stopped dealing with Fat Joe, she left him completely, and she ended up marrying a professional athlete. TA also says that Fat Joe fell in love with a 15-year-old Latin girl, so much so to the point where he bought a condo right down the street from where him and his wife live so that he could have access to this girl anytime that he wanted. And he also says that Fat Joe was in love with this girl so much that he contemplated leaving his wife. Now it's important for me to mention that TA is going after Fat Joe here. He's going after Peter Torres, aka Pistol Pete, Richard, Rich Player, Joseph Trey, Erica, Juliana, Herrera, Sneaker Addict, Touring LLC, Slate Inc., Rock Nation LLC, and so he's actually going after a multitude of individuals and corporations within this lawsuit. Now, I will say there's a lot of explosive allegations within this lawsuit, but the thing that stuck out to me is the fact that he said that when Fat Joe would coerce him and manipulate him to participate in these sex acts, basically Fat Joe would be standing behind him, smacking him on the ass, you know, kind of egging him on, basically hyping him up. That's some Diddy-ish right there, right? For real, for real. And then also another dynamic to this lawsuit is the fact that it's been mentioned that Fat Joe had plans to take out DMX and 50 Cent. I want you guys to check out this clip and I'll be back.
The lawsuit claims that during the 16 years of working for Joe, TA was routinely coerced into engaging in acts with women. The lawsuit claims that after tour stops or studio sessions, Fat Joe would bring women to hotel rooms or private gatherings and then force TA to engage with them while Joe monitored, watched, recorded, or provided explicit directions and commands. Not a freak off. The lawsuit says that TA participated in these acts solely out of fear of retaliation, and on one occasion when TA did resist engaging with a woman, Joe canceled his flight home and left him stranded where he was without money, shelter, or support. The lawsuit says that these acts were presented as loyalty rituals to Terror Squad, and so not participating in them could result in consequences such as losing your job, your income, and your way home. In another example detailed, the lawsuit claims that after a concert overseas, Fat Joe forced TA to participate in an act with multiple people, and during it, Joe allegedly stopped what he was doing and started spanking TA, encouraging him to continue what he was doing. There's also mention of alleged grooming and of a 15-year-old artist named K Rose. The lawsuit starts this section about K Rose off with a picture of Fat Joe, Diddy, and includes Diddy's inmate number, DJ Khaled, and a man named Andre Dre Christopher Lyon. According to the suit, Andre Lyon groomed 15-year-old K Rose for about a year, and then one day as TA and Joe were walking into the studio, they heard Dre screaming that he was going to jail because K Rose's parents found out what was happening and were threatening to report him. The lawsuit claims that in response to what Dre was saying, Fat Joe told him, quote, "I'm going to take care of it." And after that, K Rose's career fizzled out and she was rarely heard from again. Further down in this section, there's claims on people and orders from Fat Joe to people, like an alleged order on rapper Mac Main. The lawsuit says that Fat Joe ordered members of his enterprise to, quote, "pound out Mac Main if they ever see him," because Mac allegedly made comments mocking Joe's marriage and claiming that he could satisfy Joe's wife better than Joe could. Then there's another alleged order by Fat Joe to assault rapper DMX. DMX? What? According to the suit, DMX got into a verbal dispute with someone close to Fat Joe, and so Joe ordered immediate retaliation on him and told TA if DMX acts up, take the hammer, which TA understood was a reference to a firearm. And then the final order from Fat Joe that's noted in this lawsuit was an alleged order to take out 50 Cent. Ciao! The lawsuit claims that this order came around 2006 or 2007, and when the plan didn't go as intended, the lawsuit claims that Fat Joe was visibly distraught and shaking.
All right, so you guys just saw and heard all of that. And so 50 Cent took the time to respond on Instagram about these claims that Fat Joe was trying to take him out back in the day. And this is what 50 had to say. These baseless accusations and claims are not credible. I'm sorry Joe has to endure the public scrutiny and damage to his reputation. This is a stick up. I wrote this hook. I should have kept this one. Now, I will say that it's not above the realm of possibility that Fat Joe wanted to take 50 out, because at the end of the day, just judging by the things that transpired back then, they had real street beef. Now, I'm glad those brothers were able to come together and piece things out, because it could have went there. You know, somebody could have lost their life. But at the end of the day, 50 Cent seems not to believe it. Maybe Fat Joe gave him a call and said these claims are baseless, and this is the reason why 50 Cent responded in the fashion that he did. But anyway, this is a very interesting lawsuit, to say the very least. We'll just have to sit back and spectate to see what twists and turns this lawsuit takes us on. Or will this be another lawsuit that's dismissed on the behalf of Tyrone Blackburn? We have to keep in mind that he's used to getting lawsuits like this dismissed because it lacks credibility and integrity. So we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, let's move on to Diddy. It's not report, but his ex-assistant Brendan Paul took the stand, and I'm hearing that the prosecution team were a little bit disappointed because it didn't go the way that they thought it would go.
All right, as we are wrapping things up, I may not get to Wendy Williams. Let me see, y'all. Actually, let's go ahead and squeeze Wendy in. So Wendy Williams' husband filed a lawsuit about about her being in the conservatorship, saying, you know, she should be out of it. It's baseless, it's not helping, and it's hindering her from living, you know, the fruitful life that she deserves to live after being a TV, you know, mogul. So let's sip some tea from Wendy Williams, y'all. Wrapping up. Drop some comments in the chat and let me know what y'all think about Fat Joe and the alleged allegations of the SA and everything else, y'all. It is a lot. It is a lot. So, I'm not a very big fan of Fat Joe, so I'm not too particular of, you know, however he may be characterized as a person and a rapper. I do know some things about Fat Joe. I know that, you know, recently he was coming online for, you know, showing his disabled son that, you know, has Down syndrome, and how his wife really wasn't privy to the child and walked out on him and Fat Joe to raise the son alone. Things like that. I know that I've seen Fat Joe around Remy Ma's content with Papoose on Love and Hip Hop, things like that. So
$1 million lawsuit.
Now we're going to get into TMZ talking about Wendy Williams. This is our last tea talk of the evening. Let's wrap this on up and sip this tea on Wendy and her ex-husband.
Claiming that Wendy is being held against her will in an illegal guardianship, has caused all sorts of financial and emotional damage. Problem is, he's divorced from her, and she doesn't like her much.
No, it was not a great divorce.
She doesn't like him much.
And even though she's had to pay him out a whole lot of money over a lot of years, she doesn't want him a part of this. And you know this straight from the source.
Well, I know it straight from the source because before I talked to the source, meaning Wendy, it was just apparent to me. I mean, he's filing this as Kevin Hunter, her friend. I mean, when does a friend have standing to file a 200? She had no idea about this lawsuit. During our morning meeting here at TMZ, Wendy called me and I talked to her about it. Did you know your ex-husband, Kevin Hunter, was filing this lawsuit claiming to represent you?
I had no idea.
And
Nor do I want him to be a part of my life like that. No.
why?
Because I'm divorced forever.
And so this lawsuit that he's filing for $260 million?
Well, you know, he's a money grubber. He's always been that way. Look, I don't want to say too much, you know what I'm saying? But it's good to know that he's doing such evil things. Again, he won't win.
Sounds pretty sharp if some of the question is whether she's sharp or not.
She is sharp.
Right.
And that the guardianship is an outrage. I'm sorry for being so bold to say that, but I've talked to Wendy for hours upon hours. That's Wendy Williams. That's what she was like 10 years ago. That's what she's like today.
And somebody else who's on the same page with her is her attorney, Joe Tacopina.
The guy who's trying to get her out of this guardianship.
Who you also talked to on TMZ.
Okay, well, let me be very, I want to analyze this in a very legal way. That's what I think. The guy has no standing, okay? He can't, this thing should be dismissed with sanctions, honestly. I don't know what this lawyer was thinking, but he has no standing to file this lawsuit. It's a self-serving lawsuit, clearly. And more importantly, Wendy Williams doesn't need her ex-husband, who was not a very good husband, to file a lawsuit on her behalf. If and when Wendy Williams is going to file a lawsuit to outside of the guardianship proceeding to get out of the guardianship, we will file a lawsuit. I will file a lawsuit. We don't need her ex-husband's lawyer to file a lawsuit. That has no legal standing whatsoever. So, you know, thanks, but no thanks.
I am so baffled by this that he did have the assistance of a lawyer in filing this. On what planet would a judge entertain a lawsuit by an ex-husband that she doesn't even like and didn't even know that she was doing, that he was doing this?
But does she still owe him money?
I don't think so, because her show is so long gone, and they had a deal. I think it was that he would get money for 5 years, but the show ended after 2 years. But we're so far past that I think that's all over.
Hi, my name is Nana, and I'm from New York. And my opinion on the Wendy situation is that we all know that this is a crash grab from Kevin. If he's willing to do this, then we should let him, because beggars cannot be choosers in this situation. He's going to be the only one that's willing to do a lawsuit. And if Wendy can be released from this, then they should let him do it. Because at the end of the day, Kevin can just give her a check, and then Wendy could be released. So everything will be okay.
But he may not be the only one willing to do it. Is Joe Tacopina thinking about a lawsuit? Do we have a sense of?
No, I know exactly what Joe's doing. Yeah. Joe is going to file. Wendy is going through these medical tests right now. This whole business of frontal temporal dementia. I mean, there's just no way she could have that, because it only gets worse. And when you look at her 5 years ago, she's gotten better, and it doesn't make sense. So they're going to do the medical test, then ask the judge to release her from the guardianship. The judge is probably going to say no, based on everything we've seen. And then Joe is going to demand a jury trial, which you can get in New York. And a jury will ultimately decide, should Wendy be free of this guardianship?
And my guess is
she's going to win.
She's going to win, because she's always had a whole lot of fans in New York.
But it's also the right thing to do.
Right.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Oh my God. Why have I been muted this entire time? Okay, so we have been going over, that was Wendy Williams rendition wrapping it up. We have been going over the breakdown of our hot tea topics, right? So we came in hot with Rkelly. Rkelly was drugged, allegedly drugged, in a North Carolina prison where he, says they are trying to kill him because he has primitive information that can take some very higher ups in like the judicial system, feds, wherever, however have you, down because he has information about them. They don't want to, according to him, allegedly, they don't want to let Rkelly out for that reason. And so they're trying to kill him, he alleges. And so does his attorney, and they feel very strongly on it. Rkelly is now begging to be released because he has some very serious health concerns going on where he's got blood clots traveling. And we know that if those can travel to your heart, they can kill you instantly. And he's saying that they're denying him access to healthcare, proper physical, good healthcare, and so forth and so on. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, Rkelly put himself in a place where a lot of human rights were just not recognized. We're not going to pray for Rkelly because Rkelly is in prison for essaying children. So moving on to our next topic that we covered today, that would have been Tyler Perry. So Tyler Perry, coming in, unfortunately, hot as well on the essay side of the lawsuit situation, right up here with Diddy, right up here with Fat Joe, right up here with everybody else that they done brought down through this bullshit. Tyler Perry had a cast member from the Oval. Now, say that he has SA'd him, which could be considered a crime, for choking him, workplace essay, for groping him inappropriately when he wasn't, asking for him to touch him and things like that. So, it's a lot going on in the celebrity hot tea topics, right? So, okay. Then next we came in hot with Fat Joe. So Fat Joe as well, he's got somebody named TA that is alleging he was also on his terror squad, similar to Diddy, where there were freak offs going on. Allegedly, he was making him freak off over 4,000 times over the years. Like, it's just insanely crazy, the type of things that have been alleged about Fat Joe, that Fat Joe was grooming minors as little as the age of young as 15, 14, buying them little things, phones, nails, BBLs, things like that, where Fat Joe was even supposedly having one of them living very relatively close to where him and his wife stayed. So he would have close access to be able to say this young teenage woman, however have you. Okay, so Fat Joe's coming in hot as well on the lawsuit side of the situation with allegations from one of his former hype men. He's alleging that Fat Joe would leave him in foreign countries if he did not perform extrally for him. And that Fat Joe was, very coercive, very forceful about wanting people attacked, wanting people hurt. Allegedly would be DMX and 50 Cent. 50 Cent later took to the blogs and said he doesn't believe that, however have you, even though we know of him and Fat Joe to have had beef back in the day. So anyway, moving forward, then we wound things down tonight with Wendy Williams. Her husband, is filing a lawsuit up in the $260 million. That must be the number to file a lawsuit on right now. Tyler Perry's got one, and I guess the state of New York has one as well from Wendy Williams' ex-husband. He says that it's not right. She's in a guardianship. She shouldn't be out in a guardianship. Let her out of the guardianship. People are like, including Wendy, like, what the hell is he doing? She's not even married to him. She doesn't want nothing to do with him. And it's just like, what the hell's going on? Her lawyer chimed in with TMZ and it's like, we don't know what the hell he's doing. If that was whatever we wanted to do, then we would have done it on Wendy's behalf as her representation for Wendy Williams. So it's been a lot today, y'all. We covered Diddy a little bit earlier. Go back and check out that explosive live about wrapping things up with Diddy. Looking like Diddy will be wrapping things up next week, potentially by Friday, like knowing a verdict from the jury. A lot of lawsuits going on with the celebrities or whatever, however have you. So it's just a lot, y'all, that we had to sip some tea on today. We weren't gonna just, do too much because life is lifing for us all, but we will keep our cups up to be filled to know what the tea is as far as these celebrities go and their explosive lawsuits. Thanks for sipping tea with Tanisha tonight, with Tanisha Talks Teas tonight. Remember to like and subscribe when you hit that replay button. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing. Keep your teacups filled and ready for my next upload. Until then, stay inspired and remember, always stay sipping.